me explain to you a little bit about editing. When you have a video with as many quick cuts as I do and as many takes, editing can take a long time. And when I have a week where I don't have to go to work on Monday like this week, I can usually get my video out on time. But when I have a full work week or I have to work on the weekend, I have to focus on editing midweek after work. And this past week I had a pretty bad cold. And when your number one priority is sleep and not editing, so I'm catching up now, 2 videos this week. Here's the one I recorded last weekend. The Leafs get 5 points out of a possible 8 points in a 4-game week. But the 4 games weren't even the biggest stories this week, with controversies, trades, line shufflings. Action-packed week, no time for an introduction. Welcome to... Alright, starting off this week with controversy, Phil Kessel had an interesting comment for the press on Sunday. After his slump reached 10 games, a stretch in which he was a -7, Phil Kessel was placed on a line with Daryl Boyce and Joey Crabb in practice. And at that practice, reporters asked him about what his feelings were about this and if he had talked to Ron Wilson about it. And Kessel said this, he said, "Me and Ron don't really talk, that's all I have to say about that." And he concluded his remarks by talking about the line change, saying, "Maybe it's just not working out, maybe it's time for a change or something, who knows." Meanwhile, Wilson said to the media that Kessel wasn't doing the necessary things to help the team win, he was too focused on scoring and wasn't helping out defensively. And the media, doing what they did best, took the story and sensationalized it, talking about a rift between Wilson and Kessel. Kessel did his best to backtrack the next day, once again reiterating that he was talking about his lines when he said, "It's time for a change, he loved Toronto, yada yada yada." So my opinion of this whole thing, of course Phil is going through a dry spell. Of course he's frustrated, he's trying to find answers. And I'm sure we've all said things we don't mean in frustration. But the crazy thing is he didn't even say anything out of line. He was talking about his line combinations, but the media, frothing at the mouth, deliberately took his remarks out of context and reported them to make a story. Way to go, Toronto reporters, real classy. Oh, and by the way, Kessel's scoring slump has now reached 14 games. Awesome. Moving into the games, Leafs win 5-4 against the Atlanta Thrashers. Here's a real quick summary of the game. Leafs were down 2-0 after the first period, but stormed back in the second and sealed the victory with 2 goals in the third. Scoring for the Leafs, Dion Phaneuf, Mikhail Grabovski, Clark MacArthur, Nikolai Kulemin, and Tim Brent. With that goal, Dion Phaneuf has finally scored his first goal in the ACC as a Leaf. Giguère played really well in this one, keeping the Leafs in it, making key saves at important times to enable the comeback. Moving quickly through since there's so much to cover, Leafs win 5-3 over the New York Islanders. And this game was just embarrassing for the Islanders. And it's not so much the score, it's what's happening with their goaltenders. First off, DiPietro was injured, so the Islanders were forced to have backup Kevin Poulin start. Except during warm-up, Poulin injured his left knee and had to leave the stadium on crutches. So, in you go, 5th stringer Mikko Koskinen. Then he gets lit up. We'll get to that. And the Islanders didn't even have a replacement for him available until the third period, and they didn't end up using him anyway. You gotta feel bad for Poulin and the Isles, but with the troubles they're having with injury magnet Rick DiPietro and the refusal to play of Evgeny Nabokov, the Islander goaltending situation has just descended into farce. Anyway, on to the summary of the game. The Leafs completely dominated, with Colby Armstrong scoring on the first shot 1.5 minutes in, and the Leafs beat Koskinen 4 more times en route to victory. Also scoring for the Leafs were Jay Rosehill on the second shot of the game, Thomas Kaberle, Nikolai Kulemin for his 20th of the season, and Frederick Sjustrom. And here's one thing I noticed from the game. Phil Kessel seems to have really taken the message about helping the team to win in other ways than scoring to heart. He played a solid, well-rounded game against the Isles. And even though his struggles continued, ringing one off the post, he set up a nice feed to Kulemin for a goal. It's a learning experience. But in the end, we may see a better Kessel come out of this slump. Think about it. Kessel, his whole life, has been a sniper. That's all he's been asked to do, just wait for the pass and fire it on net. But now he's learning the playmaking side of the game in his quest to do other things to help the team win. Sure, it may come slowly to him and he may struggle a bit, but in the end, having a Kessel that can set up goals as well as score them can only help the Leafs. However, bad news struck on Wednesday as goaltender Jonas Gustafsson was pulled after the first period of a game for the Toronto Marlies with an elevated heart rate. He was checked out and eventually even had a heart ablation procedure, which is basically a procedure to see what's going on inside the heart in an attempt to see what's causing all these problems. He'll be allowed to resume workouts next week. And this worries me. If you'll remember, an abnormal heart rhythm plagued Gustafsson when he first came to Canada, and if these problems keep popping up, well, let's just say it's not a good sign. All we can do is just hope that this isn't a sign of something much, much more serious. Oh, and by the way, Marlies went on to win 9-2. Let's go Marlies! Next order of business, the Leafs pull off the first trade in the lead up to trade deadline day, sending Francois Beauchemin packing. The Leafs dealt Beauchemin back to his old team, the Anaheim Ducks, in exchange for Joffrey Lupul, Jake Gardiner, and a conditional 4th round pick. Wow! Amazing deal here, without a doubt. Burke just gave us one of the things we needed, secondary scoring. Joffrey Lupul is a guy who can score 20 to 30 goals when he's not injured, which granted he's had trouble with a bit lately. And he's also played with Clark MacArthur and Jr., so there could be chemistry on a line with those two there. And Jake Gardiner is a marquee prospect playing for the University of Wisconsin. I admit I don't know much about this guy, but apparently he has amazing speed and is scoring at a point per game pace with Wisconsin. Another puck-moving D-man, even if it's after he's done university in a couple of years, is something we could definitely use. And the condition on the 4th round pick we get is whether Joffrey Lupul plays 44 games for the Leafs in the 2012 to 2013 season. If he does, we get a 4th rounder. If he doesn't, we get a 6th rounder. And all we gave up for all that is a defenseman who never quite seemed to fit in here and was a convenient scapegoat for many fans. And Francois Beauchemin, on his way out, seemed excited, said he never wanted to leave Anaheim in the first place, and was excited about returning to a team in the playoff race. And there's one thing that stood out to me from his remarks. He said, "I wished I had scored more goals here. The feeling's mutual, Francois. The feeling's mutual." In the meantime, Keith Aulie has been called up from the AHL to fill the hole on the blue line, with Burke praising him, saying that he sees him as a top 4 D-man in the future. Alright, straight into the 3rd game this week, the Devils spoiled Joffrey Lupul's Leaf debut, winning 2-1 in overtime. Game summary, the game was mostly a defensive affair, with Hedberg for the Devils and Reimer for the Leafs playing great games. Kuhlman scored the only Leafs goal of the game with the beauty of an assist going to Phil Kessel, who set up the goal while falling. But Kovalchuk scores the dagger in OT to put the game away. And last game on the docket, Leafs get shut out on Hockey Night in Canada in Montreal. 3-0 would be the final score in another embarrassing outing for the Blue and White. The main thing I wanted to talk about in the game was the fight between Joffrey Lupul and PK Subban. So Subban and Lupul had been getting into it all night, couple of shoving matches here and there. Finally, Lupul hits Subban late after Subban had gotten off the pass, so they drop the gloves and go for it. Now before they go at it, Lupul decides to take off his helmet. But as he goes for his chin strap, Subban jumps him and starts throwing punches. After the fight, Lupul said he talked to Subban in the box, and Subban said he didn't know what Lupul was doing. Because reaching for your chin before the start of a fight could just mean anything, apparently. But Lupul in reaction said something very interesting. He said he was going to give Subban the benefit of the doubt, but Subban's name keeps popping up for this kind of stuff around the league, and eventually people are going to stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, good point, there's no denying Subban's been a chippy, scrappy player. Someone might just eventually end up cleaning his clock. And before any Subban fans jump on me, it's not like I want to see it happen, but he is garnering some negative attention like when Mike Richards called him disrespectful. Just saying, he might want to watch it. Anyway, not much else to mention about this game. Price just blanked the Leafs, and those are the games this week. Now before I go, I want to make a quick observation about the games this week because they all have something in common. Okay, the Leafs seriously need to stop getting outshot. They didn't get off more shots than their competition in a single game this week, not even when they played the Islanders. Here are the numbers. Playing the Thrashers, they got outshot 34-32. Playing the Islanders, they got outshot 34-26. Playing the Devils, they were outshot 39-32. And playing the Canadiens, they were outshot 39-27. In fact, their shooting woes stretch back for 5 straight games, meaning they've been outshot in every single game since they shut out Carolina last week. Come on, guys, 5 straight? Anyway, that's all I got this week. Hope you have a good week. See you soon. Go Leafs, go!